Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely demystify something that trips up a lot of people, changing questions from the active to the passive voice. Look, if you've ever found advanced grammar rules frustrating, you're definitely in the right place. We're going to sidestep all that usual confusion by treating English sentence structure exactly like a mathematical formula. Seriously, by the time we finish, you'll be swapping variables and solving sentences with absolute clarity.
Okay, let's dive right into this with a quick mental challenge. Take a look at this question. Did Ali open the door? Right now, just in your head, can you convert this simple active question into the passive voice without losing its question format? If you hesitated or if you accidentally turned it into a statement, stick with me. We're going to lock down the mechanics so you literally never hesitate again.
And hey, if that opening question gave you a flash of exam anxiety, don't sweat it. Here's our game plan. We'll cover the core rules, build a passive decision tree, tackle yes, no, and WH questions, defeat the tricky who exception, and finish by avoiding common mistakes. Let's get to it.
All right, Section 1, the core passive rules. Think of these like the prerequisites for an equation. Before you do anything, you must verify your sentence meets these specific conditions. It absolutely has to have a direct object, and it must use a transitive verb, an action that is done to something. Once you have those, you apply the fundamental swap. The object of the active sentence becomes the subject of the passive. But here's the absolute rule for questions. The structural position of your auxiliary verbs and question words is sacred. They must hold their ground.
Moving right along, Section 2, the passive decision tree.
Whenever you face a question, just run it through this step-by-step mental checklist. It's foolproof. Step 1, lock down the tense and the auxiliary verb. Step 2, move your object to the front. Step 3, drop in the correct be verb. Step 4, apply your past participle, also known as V3. And Step 5, preserve that question format and add by plus your subject. If you methodically follow these 5 steps, you'll nail the transformation every single time.
Okay, Section 3, tackling yes-no questions.
Let's actually see this in action. Take the active question, does Ali clean the room? Notice exactly how we apply our formula to this present simple tense. The auxiliary does tells us the tense, right? So it converts to the be verb, is. Our object, the room, slides perfectly into the subject slot. Finally, the main verb clean drops in as the V3 past participle, cleaned. Is the room cleaned by Ali? Boom, the math works perfectly.
Now, let's look at a modal verb and see how this builds. Can she solve the problem? Notice how the variables shift here. The modal can stays firmly anchored at the front. Its position is sacred, remember. The problem shifts over to become our subject, then we drop in our be verb and our V3, be solved. So we get, can the problem be solved by her? It's the exact same underlying architecture, just with different variables.
Section 4, mastering WH questions. Let's level up.
Listen, the golden rule here is incredibly simple, and you should totally burn this into your memory. Do not touch the WH word. Leave it exactly where it is at the front of the sentence. It acts as an anchor. The only things you're swapping are the remaining variables right behind it.
Take this specific example. What did Ali buy? In this case, what is actually acting as the object itself. So following our rule, it stays firmly locked at the front. Immediately after it, we run our standard sequence, our past tense be verb, was, plus our V3, bought, ending with our agent by Ali. What was bought by Ali? It just flows beautifully. Let's look at a present perfect example. Why have they postponed the meeting? The word why drops straight down to anchor the new sentence. We see our object is the meeting, so we pull that forward. Now, because the meeting is singular, our auxiliary shifts from have to has. Then we just plug in been postponed. Why has the meeting been postponed? All the variables shifted perfectly without breaking the interrogative format.
All right, brace yourselves. Section 5, the tricky who exception.
Welcome to the boss fight of This Explainer. The word who totally breaks the standard mold and splits into 2 distinct structural situations. First, type 1. We have to recognize when who is actually the subject actively performing the action. In these cases, there's no object sitting before the verb for us to move around. Who is driving the sentence? Actually, scratch that. Who is the entire engine of the sentence?
Now what's really interesting here is the transformation itself. Take who wrote this book. Because who is the active subject, when we shift to the passive voice, it becomes the agent.
we must mathematically transform who into by whom right at the beginning of our equation. Then we follow with our be verb was, our object this book, and our v3 written. By whom was this book written?
Conversely, look at type 2. This is the scenario where who or whom is actually serving as the object of the active sentence, meaning it's receiving the action rather than performing it. Take the active sentence, whom did Ali invite? Here, Ali is the subject and whom is our object.
When we convert this to passive, the object whom becomes the new subject. In modern English, whom transforms beautifully back into who at the very front of the passive question. Then, it's followed directly by our standard be plus v3 formula. So, whom did Ali invite smoothly becomes who was invited by Ali.
And finally, Section 6, avoiding common mistakes.
So, you now have the complete mathematical toolkit to conquer these sentences. But let's quickly review a common trap that even advanced learners fall into during high-pressure exams. The single most frequent mistake is abandoning the formula's sacred word order. Look at the incorrect example here, was finished the work. The student remembered the be verb and the v3, but they mashed them together. Remember the rule, the newly swapped subject, in this case the work, must sit exactly between your auxiliary be verb and your v3 past participle. Was the work finished is the absolutely only correct structure.
Think of this summary table as your ultimate cheat sheet. It visually proves everything we've talked about today. Regardless of whether it's present simple, past simple, present perfect, or a modal verb, the underlying mathematical architecture of the passive voice never changes. Anchor your auxiliaries, swap your object, insert your be verb, and drop in your v3. It's really that systematic.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I'm going to leave you with one final test of your new skills, pulled straight from our practice exercises. How did the engineer design the bridge? Can you take the math we learned today, lock the WH word in place, slide the object over, drop in your be and v3 verbs, and transform this sentence into the passive voice right now in your head? Apply the formula, and I promise you already know the answer. Keep practicing that math, and I'll see you in the next explainer.